Elon Musk and 50 Cent just dropped a truth bomb that has the entire industry shaking. And here's the twist. Diddy isn't the boss. He's the distraction. If you've been staring at him like he's the endgame, you've been reading the wrong map. Because this time, it's not just talk. Elon sits on something 50 doesn't. Data. Receipts. Years of private DMs from the Twitter era, now X. The kind of material that can flip the entire narrative overnight. That's why people are mapping this like a pyramid. Bottom level, Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Middle level, the gatekeepers, Oprah and Clive Davis. Top level, one name they claim ties it all together, hiding in plain sight. And it doesn't stop at studios and boardrooms. The conversation stretches into influence, image, and even the pulpit. 50 has been hinting at that angle for months. So buckle up.
That they gave me a raw deal because this industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it, and I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster. When I quit the show, all my friends would say, well, up them, Dave, why don't you just do Chappelle's show at another network? Yeah. And why doesn't a slave run from one plantation to another plantation? Because the master over there might be nicer. My God, man, I was trapped. You know what? Tell you the truth. I've even thought about coming back and doing another Chappelle show. Well, but if I...
Before we climb any higher, understand this. The Diddy situation matters beyond hip-hop. And no, this isn't a long biography. This is about what you clicked for. 50 Cent dropped his Diddy documentary, The Reckoning, and framed it like nobody else in the industry had the guts to speak. His message was simple. Silence makes the whole culture look complicit. So he stepped into it. Now here's where it gets darker. One of the biggest claims circulating is that Diddy allegedly had a massive number of hidden cameras in his house, hundreds of them, recording what went on at after-hours parties. Commentators like Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal talk about it as if it wasn't just for fun. They frame it as leverage footage insurance, a system that keeps people obedient without ever needing to say a word. And now the rumor is those tapes are being quietly moved, with big names panicking. So why does Elon Musk change the equation? Because Elon owns X. That means he sits at the top of a platform holding years of private conversations between celebrities, politicians, and power players. When Elon sat down with Joe Rogan, he didn't just hint. He pointed directly at the gap between what people say publicly and what they don't say when it matters.
The Diddy thing was like an Epstein-type compromise deal, where he had, whether he was doing it himself, conceivably, people want to think that he's attached to some intelligence agency or something like that. I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them. That's what I think. Whether or not he had help, I don't know. Whether or not he shared some of that information with people so they knew they had compromising stuff on people, I don't know. But clearly he was doing it for his own jollies too. There was something sick about it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that people in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing, kids basically. And yet they still fed him kids. And like, where's the accountability?
There had to be rumors. There had to be.
They had to know.
Yeah.
They had to know.
Cat Williams was talking about it on...
Exactly.
Yeah, on that podcast.
But like who's feeding him the kids,
Right, yeah. And what videos do they have of these people where they're willing to defend him, when they're willing to keep quiet about all this? Like how many people were compromised?
Yeah.
The whole thing is crazy.
Crazy.
It's just crazy when because the nutty conspiracy theories is like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood, and you're like, come on, that sounds too kooky. And then you see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these different.
That moment lit the internet on fire. Not because it was shocking, but because it forced an ugly question. If people were that close and never spoke up, what does that mean? Either they didn't know, which many people don't believe, or they knew something and stayed quiet. And if they stayed quiet, the next question is obvious. Why? Fear? Loyalty? Image? Protection? And if protection of who? Now let's climb. Level 1 is Jay-Z and Beyoncé. And yeah, you might be thinking only level 1. Just wait. How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and not get asked a single question about the intersections between him, Aaliyah, and R. Kelly? People keep refusing to engage with that. Online voices have been screaming that it's not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z together. Names like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, R. Kelly, and Sean Combs keep getting linked back to one professional common denominator. And that's why people say the silence has to end. Jaguar Wright did an interview with Piers Morgan and made claims she wasn't supposed to make about Jay-Z, Diddy, and how deep the connections go. People say the episode got pulled fast, wiped, buried, and made hard to find. She also raised a question that's been floating for years. How does Jay-Z sit with Gayle King on a major network and never get pressed on long-running rumors and industry ties? She went even further, pushing the Aaliyah theory that refuses to die. None of it is proven, but it keeps resurfacing because Jay-Z has never directly addressed it. And online, silence doesn't read neutral. It reads like a choice.
How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing. I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through. That changes now, Sean. You have no choice. That Dream Hampton was being financed and ran by Sean Carter. They were able to go and get all of these witnesses because he was there with Robert Kelly. Think about this. Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who was a victim of Sean Carter. Yeah. Mary J. Blige, who was a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened, and yet they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know.
Then another detail made people side-eye everything. When Diddy got charged and lawsuits started stacking up, one name instantly raised eyebrows. Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's personal lawyer. Reports say he started appearing around the Diddy legal orbit. And people asked the obvious question. Why is Jay-Z's attorney suddenly showing up here?
Suing Tony Busby? Spiro is a partner, and Alex Spiro is Jay-Z's personal lawyer.
Oh, so it's probably Jay-Z then that's doing the suing.
Of course they'd use Kevin's name, but it ain't Kevin. Why is Alex Spiro popping up everywhere?
What do you think is going on in Hollywood right now? What are you hearing? Because I'm hearing
mass panic. Mass panic.
So because no one's talking publicly.
No, they can't. That's why they came up with the story. Well, you know, there's a party inside the Diddy party, and I went to the first party, but I left early. I never made it to Diddy After Dark. There were public relations teams right after Diddy got arrested running around telling everyone to say that.
Of course.
The question is this. If all you went to was the first party and you didn't know anything about the After Dark, why would you say, I left early? Why wouldn't you just say you left when the party ended?
Yeah, exactly.
Because how would you know there was another party if you weren't informed?
Exactly.
If you went to the Diddy party and nothing happened and it was the first party, your speech wouldn't be, oh, well, I only went to the first party. Right. I didn't go to the after party. You wouldn't say that because you wouldn't have known about it. You would say, I don't know what anybody's talking about. I went to Diddy's party. It was a white party. It was dancing. It was wild. But at the end, we all went home.
Right.
That's not what y'all are saying.
Nope.
You're saying, I didn't go to the second party. I only went to the first. The only thing you're proving is that you're hiding being there.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have known about it.
Exactly.
The theory is simple. Control the narrative before more names get dragged into the light. Because if Diddy ever talks, a lot of powerful people could go down with him. That's why the conversation keeps circling Jay-Z's rise. You can't talk about that era without Big L. Big L helped open doors early, connected Jay to Dame Dash, and negotiations were reportedly moving forward. Then, just days after those talks began, Big L was killed in a drive-by in Harlem. The case is still unsolved. And people say once you line up the timelines, things start feeling uncomfortable. Now we move up to level 2, where it stops being about fame and starts being about leverage. Oprah Winfrey and Clive Davis. With Oprah, critics point to her proximity to Harvey Weinstein. Photos, events, public support, even while whispers were already circulating. In this space, silence gets interpreted as protection. Add in the controversy surrounding the school she funded in South Africa, early allegations, public fallout, and lingering questions that never fully disappeared. That's why her name keeps coming back up in conversations about oversight and quiet power. Then there's Clive Davis. A legend. Arista Records. Decades at the top. Careers launched. That's exactly why people don't treat him like background noise. Suge Knight has claimed for years that Clive and Diddy weren't just mentor and protege. No proof publicly shown, but the claim keeps getting recycled because it fits the broader narrative. Diddy didn't rise alone.
Favorite memory working with Diddy?
You know, personally, I've got to tell you, he really is a major star in this film tonight. He's his spokesman all the way through. I met him before I ever knew of him. I met him when he was 21 years old. And when we met, you know, he played me Craig Mack Flavor in Your Ear. He played me 3 cuts from the forthcoming Notorious B.I.G. album. And we talked for hours and hours about music, and I poured into his dream. And I financed Bad Boy Records. And we had an incredible run, an incredible period.
Then there's the Whitney Houston angle, another story people refuse to let go. Questions about her final days, the people around her, and whether the official version explains everything. Family comments over the years have fueled that suspicion, and the internet keeps asking one blunt question. How does someone surrounded by decades of rumors never face consequences? That's where the fall guy theory comes from. The belief that Diddy is taking the heat while the real gatekeepers stay protected, operating where headlines can't reach. Now we hit the top of the pyramid. And this is the name that shocks people the most. Bishop T.D. Jakes. A pastor. A spiritual authority. And yet 50 Cent has kept poking that name for months. The theory is simple. If influence reaches the pulpit, this isn't just a celebrity problem. It's an ecosystem. People point to how T.D. Jakes was used in the documentary rollout. Clips placed at specific moments, almost like signals. Viewers noticed appearances that felt intentional, not accidental. Then Cat Williams got pulled back into the conversation after predicting that 2024 would be the year everything gets exposed.
Cat Williams calls out Bishop T.D. Jakes and watches T.D. Jakes and Gino Jennings' response.
I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. T.D. Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
When T.D. Jakes was confronted about the Diddy allegations, his response is what made it explode. Not a clean denial, just dismissal. Comments that many people interpreted as deflection instead of clarity. Jaguar Wright added fuel to the fire, claiming there are only 2 reasons someone would be around those environments: money or access. She framed those spaces as leverage zones and claimed video and audio exist.
Jakes was at a Diddy party, there could only be 2 reasons: money or sex. That's all that happens at Diddy parties: money and sex.
Cassie has turned over substantial amounts of evidence to the feds. I'm told that after Cassie had a long conversation with Blank, I have to protect this person. They're going through a lot right now. And her lawyers, she finally was convinced to give up the videotapes and audio recordings that could take.
Whether any of that holds up is another question. But once the public believes receipts exist, The fear isn't the rumor. It's the footage. Jaguar went further, saying multiple men have come forward with stories that, in their view, connect Jakes to that world. No proof shown publicly. Just allegations, insiders, and claims that legal moves are happening quietly behind the scenes. Then Gene Deal added his perspective, questioning why a religious leader would even be near parties described as anything but clean. He hinted that tapes may surface. And if they do, speculation turns into something else entirely.
Diddy and TD Jakes.
Man, what I think about it is this, when I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You have to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she. But maybe he'd have to lay some hands on somebody. Maybe he'd have to save some souls. I know he got a contract with Revolt, so I'm just like, it's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party or any kind of place with Diddy unless it's in a business atmosphere.
So why do you think he was going to these parties?
I think that he's going to the Diddy parties, bruh. If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that it's, I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or when we told this happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he needs to see it for himself, man. Maybe he needs to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties.
That's the real threat hanging over everything right now. Not opinions. Not debates. Proof. When Elon Musk and Joe Rogan talked, it wasn't just about celebrities. It was about power networks. Fear of exposure. Fear of what happens when the wrong doors open. They compared it to an Epstein-style compromise model. Once someone is compromised, you don't argue with them. You control them. That's the core of the pyramid. Not fame, not talent. Control. And once you see it that way, a lot starts making sense. Why certain people never speak. Why stories disappear. Why some names stay protected no matter how loud the noise gets. Dave Chappelle said it differently, but the message was the same. The industry isn't just contracts. It's control. And if someone that successful felt boxed in, what does that say about everyone else inside the machine? This story isn't over. More names will surface. More rumors of footage will spread. More untouchables will start looking very touchable. So here's the real question. Do you think TD Jakes is actually the top of the pyramid? Or is he just another layer hiding whoever sits above him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you thought this was wild, the next video goes even deeper into the names people think are next in line. Meek Mill, Ashton Kutcher, Naomi Campbell. The list keeps growing and the internet thinks the walls are closing in. We'll be here for every twist as it unfolds. See you in the next one.